Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. The channel's called Ratchet. My name's Andrew, and on this episode of my GT40 restoration, I'm going to be showing you the steps involved in getting one of these aluminium chassis panels ready for fitting. Run the title. On this shorter than normal episode, I'm going to be taking you through each of the individual stages of how I prep one of the raw chassis panels in readiness for fitting it back onto the chassis. So we'll be running through the metalworking stages, the various sanding processes that I go through, and then finally onto the Scotch-Brite stage, where that then gives me this sort of satin, raw aluminium finish that I want to give to all of these panels that clad the chassis. Now, it's a time-consuming process. I've already filmed the footage, and I can tell you that this single panel took an hour. Now, obviously there are some panels that are far simpler and far quicker and easier, but it just sort of gives you the time scale that's involved in a task like this. So, although it's a little snapshot and maybe one for the real die-hard fans of this channel, I hope it is enjoyable. So without further ado, let's crack on. So this is the panel we're dealing with, and it is one of the lower footwell panels on the interior of the car. It was one of the first that I made, so it was still a massive learning curve on how I was actually producing these panels. So this one is going to take quite a lot of work to get pulled into shape, so I thought it would be a good one to show you. So what I do with a 40 grit disc on the DA sander is basically hit the whole thing, and then that shows up any low spots that then need some addressing with the hammers. Doing it with the 40 grit, it also takes down any high spots that are present on the panel. So it's a good initial stage to really let me suss out what's going to be involved in getting this pulled into line. And what you can see, it's taken out the highs, it's highlighted the lows. So from then on, I can then turn the panel over, and then from the back side, working with just a flat metal working hammer, just start dressing any areas against the steel plate that I've got, pulling everything into shape. Once I've worked the panel, then flip it back over and then hit it with a DA again. Some marks will have gone, some still remain, and it's just a repeat process to get it all one continuous sort of matte finish. On to the next stage. Once the highs have been taken out with the 40, I then switch to a 120, and now I'm again refining the panel, taking out any deep swell marks that the 40 grit's left. And that's still highlighting areas that are low, so flipping it back over, working from the back side, just with the hammers against the metal plate. So it's just a real repeat process, and you can see here that the panel's shaping up to a nice matte finish. So here you can see with a green Scotch-Brite pad, I'm just going over the panel for a final time, taking out any of the fine sanding marks still left by the 120, and any tiny little imperfections that still do remain, because let's be honest, these panels aren't perfect, but I'm more than happy with how this one has shaped up, considering how it started.